The Prophet ﷺ says, لا ينبغي للمؤمن أن يذل نفسه. A believer should not humiliate themselves. There's being humble, and then there's self-humiliation. And then on the other extreme, you have arrogance and pride. And we want to know, how can we live the middle ground here? Israfil alayhi salam descends at the beginning of the Prophet ﷺ's prophethood. And he says to the Prophet ﷺ, you have two options. You can be a king prophet, or you can be a servant prophet. What do you want to do? You have Dawood and Sulaiman, kings. Not just prophets, kings. They had palaces, they had armies. Like this, they would change the direction of the wind. Dawood alayhi salam, he holds metal and it just melts in his hands. You can be like that, or you can be a servant prophet. What do you prefer? And the Prophet ﷺ says, I want to be a servant prophet. Don't make me a king prophet. This was from his character, that he always preferred humility. He wanted to be one with his people. And Israfil responds to him, because you have chosen to humble yourself, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah will give you what you asked for. You will be a servant prophet, but, and this is the rule, this is the principle. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, whoever humbles themselves for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise their rank. The Prophet chose consciously to be a servant prophet, so Allah gave him a gift. From today, you are the Sayyidu Waladi Adam Yawm al-Qiyamah. You are going to be the master of all the children of Adam on the day of judgment. And you are وَأَوَّلُ مَنْ تَنْشَقُّ الْأَرْضُ عَنْهُ وَأَوَّلُ شَافِعٍ. You will be the first person to intercede on behalf of the believers. You will be the first person who will be resurrected. So Muhammad ﷺ is the last messenger, but he will be the first of prophets. Why? Because he chose humility. That was his choice. Now there's a problem, there's a reason we need to learn about humility. It's a very scary hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا يدخل الجنة. A person will not enter paradise if they have an atom's weight of arrogance and pride in their heart. من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة من خردل من كبر. What does that mean for a believer? A Muslim will never be in the hellfire forever. But let's say you did all the 5 pillars. You went to Umrah, and you went to Hajj, and you were kind to your neighbor, and you did good to your parents. But you had a little bit of arrogance in your heart. You cannot enter paradise with that arrogance. It has to be removed from your system. If it is not removed by tests in this world, if it's not removed by the right company, it's not removed by fighting with yourself, it will be removed by the fire of Jahannam. So you can enter paradise. But we will not enter paradise without it. May Allah make us of those who enter paradise with no hisab. There was a lot of customs and cultures at the time, primarily non-Arab, Persian, Roman. When the king would enter the room, what does everybody have to do? Stand up. I still remember my first day in the UK in university. The professor entered the room, I stood up. Good morning, sir. All my colleagues were laughing at me. I realized here they called their professor by the first name. John, this هذا صديقك يعني, he's your friend or something, you call him sir, Mr, last name, professor, some respect. No, John, how's it going? Sheikh, I can't do this. Yes, we Indians, we like hierarchy, we like our classes and systems and respect and sitting and standing. But what amazed me when I heard the first time that the Prophet ﷺ entered the room and his companions stood up and he told them, don't stand up, sit back down. He said, this is what the Romans and the Persians do. This is not what we do. When I enter the room, do not stand up. And if you want people to stand up for your entrance, you have a problem. Why, you think you're special? You're not special. Let them stay seated. You go down to them. This is how the Prophet ﷺ would be in his humility. He would go down to people. One day he was sitting, one of his companions said, look, why don't we give you a platform to eat? He was sharing from a plate with a slave in his household, a servant in his household, sharing from the same plate. Someone said, look, why don't you have your own plate? And why don't you sit on a, place that's raised? So he says, Innama ana abd. Me and this person are the same. We are both servants. I eat like a servant and I sit like a servant. This was the nature of the Prophet ﷺ. There's also a way in his body language. When he would walk, Do you know how the Prophet ﷺ would walk? You can walk like this. Yes? With your back stretched out and your nose up in the air. And your physiotherapist will be very happy for your posture. He would walk as though he is walking downhill. When you are walking downhill, your head is a little bit lowered, right? You're walking downhill. And also you will be walking a bit faster than normal. He would walk a bit faster than normal, and he would walk as though he's walking downhill, lowered. When he enters Mecca, after 20 odd years of persecution from these people, he enters Mecca with his head bowed.